Good morning, Dick Wagner here, presenting our regular Tuesday morning webinar. We're pre-recording this because we're going to be out of town with clients. So here we go. I want to talk to you about ways to network. One of the biggest comments or complaints or issues that keeps coming up with our clients, with the marketing clients that I coach, is I need to be able to network better. I need to be exposed to more people. What are some of the best ways that I can network, and where should I really network? So we're going to jump into this, and I'm going to show you some ideas that we've experienced over the last several years that really work pretty well. First off, we know that networking is an important skill in both personal and professional settings. I'm going to give you 9 examples of how to network effectively. Attending industry conferences or seminars or other networking events, and you know there's plenty of them out there, and even business shows where you engage and interact with other people. Participate in events related to your field for like-minded professionals and potential collaborators. Don't even be afraid to get experience in some overlapping fields. For example, I went up to Orlando to attend the Kitchen and Bath Show. Now, I'm not into kitchens and baths, but I coach marketers on how to approach contractors, especially plumbers and remodelers, on things like kitchens and baths. So I went up there and spent a day walking through their exhibits to learn myself. Join professional organizations. Guys, I'm not a big fan of BNI specifically. I'm not telling you not to be a member. I have several clients that are members of BNI. Some of them rave about those events, and some of them kind of, we're just going through the motions. And part of that, I think, comes from how viable and how impactful your BNI organization is in the local community where you attend. That affects it dramatically. You need to be visible in the community and interact with many people. So BNI is certainly one of them. BNI is starting to get a little pricey right now, but you can be members of the Chamber of Commerce or the PHCC or the American Hotel and Lodging Association or the Healthcare Association or the National Restaurant Association, even the Assisted Living Federation. There are just so many organizations out there that you could be part of. Become a member of one or more of these associations or groups that are maybe somewhat relevant to your industry or to the verticals, the verticals that you're targeting, and then actively engage in their activities. Ask prospects to do informational interviews. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. People that you value, that you want to interview, that you think may hold some tidbits of knowledge that you could learn, request informational interviews. Take them to lunch. Sit down with those professionals, especially within your field of interest. And that might be the field of interest of the particular vertical or verticals that you're targeting, especially as a route marketer. Learn from their experiences and establish a connection. Another one, some of us went to college. Some of the marketers that I work with have not gone to college. But alumni associations, if you've been to a school, they're an awesome way to tap in to a networking group. Don't be afraid to tap into your alumni people. Many universities and schools have alumni associations. Many of them host events and provide networking opportunities. For gosh sakes, take advantage of that. Online platforms. Yeah, this has been talked about in so many different ways, but I'm talking specifically about online platforms that enhance your networking opportunities. I know it's rather digital and a little bit different than face-to-face, but groups like LinkedIn and Twitter and online forums such as Reddit or Quora or Hivebrite, these are all great online forums where you can interact. I post a blog type article on LinkedIn once a week. I post on Twitter every day. There's also networking apps like Shaper and Bizibo and Meetup to discover and connect with professionals in your organization. Don't be afraid to discuss or suggest or be willing to answer and even publish good information. Even consider starting your own local meetup. Attend local meetups and attend those networking events. Look for local gatherings, such as business mixers, to connect with people in your area. And don't be afraid to host your own event. It can be very, very simple. I'm going to tell you that ways to make it simple are to announce to all of your local connections, either in Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter if you have them, or to your networking or to your client base that's local. Tell them you're going to host an event at the local coffee shop at 8 a.m. some morning, or at a bar or restaurant that can accommodate a little bit of privacy or a secluded area, and hold that event there, and even make the rule no business talk. It's just networking about our personal lives. That goes a long way toward making people feel more comfortable. And I started to show you here social media. Connect with professionals on platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and even Pinterest to expand your online network and, especially important, your online visibility. Remember, your online visibility sort of laps over into your local personal visibility. And I'm going to tell you, social interactions will get you a lot of exposure very quickly. Some you'll engage with, others you'll simply have name recognition. LinkedIn, if you don't know it and if you're not on it, LinkedIn is kind of like having your, I'm going to say, resume or your bio on the internet, on LinkedIn. And whenever you visit somebody or interact with somebody, almost everybody today Googles your name and your company. And often, almost always, if you have a profile on LinkedIn, that's going to pop up. And the things you say on that LinkedIn page about you matter. Google me. Look at my LinkedIn. Go to my LinkedIn profile. First off, you're going to see, and you can't see, but I'm going to tell you that all you're going to see is that I have over 500 connections. In reality, I have over 3,000 connections. In addition to that, you can interact with those people on LinkedIn, especially those that know you really well or you work with or work with you, and you can ask them to give you written recommendations. My recommendations list on there is over 50. It really matters. Optimize your LinkedIn profile. Don't just put in there, hey, I do fire, water, smoke, and mold. I work for XYZ Restoration Company. We do fire, water, smoke, and mold. For gosh sakes, be more creative than that. Talk about why you do it. Talk about why the people benefit from you doing it. So optimize your LinkedIn profile. Join relevant groups on LinkedIn. Geez, in the restoration business alone, there are dozens of LinkedIn groups specifically geared to disaster restoration specialists, disaster restoration professionals, disaster restoration technicians. Don't be afraid, and I remind you again, don't be afraid to reach out to those professionals, either local or within LinkedIn, to do, if it's on LinkedIn and they're out of town, ask them if they'd be willing to do an interview with you and even consider recording it and do it on Zoom. Do it face-to-face on Zoom. Remember, you have a profile that you can enhance on LinkedIn. It needs to be complete, and it needs to, I'm going to repeat this, I just did, I'm going to repeat it again. It needs to be about how you help people and businesses, and your LinkedIn profile and your resume should not be all about you. There are places where you can put your schooling and college education and your awards and your special things that you do, but the bio or the profile blurb, that paragraph or two that you write, should be all about how you help people and businesses and not about yourself. Do podcasts. I do podcasts, and Bill Giannone, my business partner, do podcasts 5 or 6 times a week. They're only 10-minute podcasts. It's not overbearing. It's not too much. It isn't too time consuming. And you can talk about on those podcasts anything that trips your trigger. But certainly those podcasts ought to be considered valuable information that you're providing for those people that want to subscribe to either Spotify or to your podcast on your website. Don't be afraid to have featured guests. Many people are happy to be interviewed for 10 minutes on a podcast, and it saves you from talking a lot, and they provide a great perspective that you might not have been able to share yourself. We're really excited for the short time that Crest has been doing podcasts. We just got an announcement or a notice from Spotify that we've had over 1,000 downloads as of, I'm going to say December 1st, 2023. Over 1,000 downloads in that very short time. It's become very popular. People love it. No, we're not a Joe Rogan, and so we don't have tens of thousands of downloads, but it really, really gets you're exposed to the communities. Volunteer or participate in community activities. I'm really talking about volunteer work on specific community projects. It can be something as simple as picking up litter along a particular street with a group of interested people. There are other ways that you can provide volunteer services. I happen to provide volunteer services to the state of Florida in the form of a guardian ad litem supporting the foster children programs. I volunteer at a foundation that supports foster children. There are 100 ways that you can volunteer and participate in community interactions. You might not be even really excited about volunteering. Here's one of the biggest complaints or excuses I'm always getting. I'm too busy to do that. Well, you know what? I'm too busy too, but I still do it. It gets you great goodwill. It gets you great exposure, and it gives you great visibility. I'm a guardian ad litem. I'm on Donate for Kids Foundation. I happen to be the president of the Society of Cleaning and Restoration Technicians, which is a national restoration organization for our industry. So don't be afraid. I'm involved in all of those. And do I have a lot of extra time? Not even close. But what you put in, you get out. Don't be afraid to attend workshops and training sessions. Participate in seminars and webinars. And geez, do you know how many webinars I get invited to on a weekly basis? 10 or 15. And I mean, they're on all kinds of topics, from insurance topics and restoration topics and human resources topics and roofing topics and building enclosure topics. And it goes on, plumbing and heating topics. And when I have the time, I'll log in or log on to those webinars, and I'll sit there and watch them for 45 minutes or an hour. What a great education that's free. And there are courses out there, especially on LinkedIn, where you can learn new skills, and with those new skills, meet people with similar interests. And don't be afraid to learn a new skill or learn new information. And I'm talking not about a better way to dry a building. I'm talking about out of your normal field or business. Think outside the box, reach outside the box, go outside the box, pretend there isn't any box. That's where your greatest successes and opportunities are going to be. It expands your mind, it expands your context, and it expands your programs. Mentorship programs, something that I have only been doing a little bit of. I have one particular client that I do gratis, that I provide mentor-mentee relationships with, but it can open doors for new opportunities and new instructions. I happen to be working with providing free coaching for a particular client that's slightly out of my margin of connections, slightly out of my expertise in restoration marketing coaching. But it's certainly marketing coaching. And I'm doing that every 2 weeks for an hour. If you have experience, consider mentoring others. This certainly doesn't just contribute to things within your industry, but it also expands your network, since the mentee program is a way to enhance your career and theirs. I said it before, it expands your mind, your contacts, and your opportunities. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about building a personal brand. Don't be afraid to create and share relevant content related to your client's field to establish your expertise. Even consider top of mind things. Let's talk about what a personal brand might be. I coached a young lady who was so bubbly and so incredibly on top all the time in her excitement and interest and her motivations. And so we dubbed her, and she took it on as a personal brand, the Bubblegum Girl. She went out to, I don't remember, Sam's Club or BJ's Wholesale Club, and bought a giant tub or tubs of bubble gum, individually wrapped bubble gum. And she had left, that piece of bubble gum was her calling card when she was visiting prospects and clients. She became known as the Bubblegum Girl. She became top of mind to all of those plumbers and insurance agents. I coached another young lady who, and this is only odd because it's in Florida. I coached a young lady who wore cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, along with a sundress. And she became very quickly known as the cowgirl. And that was her get up, if you will, for what she wore 5 days a week out in the marketplace, calling on prospects and clients. She became known as the cowgirl for her signature hat and her signature boots. And I'm not talking cheap cowboy boots. I'm talking $500 to $1,000 cowboy boots. And I'm talking $300 to $500 cowboy hats. Or should I say cowgirl hats? Your personal brand is the objective. I want you to think about and think how you could create a personal brand, because I'm telling you right now, without a personal brand, you're just the same as every other route marketer. You're just the same as everybody else. If even as a business owner, if you don't have a personal brand, you're nobody special. Don't let your ego steer your personal brand. It has to be sincere and caring, with empathy, and demonstrating that you can be valuable and top of mind, all the while doing something to enhance your personal brand. The goal is, the objective is to enhance and build a personal brand. Personal brand is how you're going to get there. It's what they think of you. It's what they remember you by. It's how you become top of mind in every situation that they're thinking about. Don't be afraid to offer help and support. I talked about this briefly a minute ago. Consider joining local chapters of national organizations There are dozens and dozens of them out there. Start out with one. Put your energy and motivation into one and be active and involved. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to expand your top of mind capabilities. And be certainly generous with the knowledge you have and the resources you have so that you can build that strong, mutually beneficial relationship. I want you to get exposure, and they really want your help. Almost every organization that you could join needs support, needs local help, needs volunteers. Consider doing that. Remember that effective networking involves building and maintaining relationships. So be genuine, show interest in others, and offer value to those you connect with. After many of these types of events, these networking type events, the most effective and the lasting success you'll have is, and I've done separate videos and brief webinars on this topic, and you can go on to the Crest Network and watch some of those, but I've done webinars on follow-up. What does it mean to follow up, follow through, and follow back? And I'm telling you, you've got to follow up. It just drives me up a wall when someone has a booth at a home show or a home and garden show or one of those for local exposure. They collect a lot of business cards. They get a lot of people to fill out their name, address, and phone number and put it into a hopper or a fishbowl to be drawn later by you to win a prize. And you know what? You or nobody in your organization follows up with them. Come on. For gosh sakes, if they were interested in and took the time, put their name or their phone number on a slip of paper and put it in a fishbowl or a drawing bin to win something. Yeah, there's always a few of those that want to be the winner, but almost everybody that does that certainly would be, they're a warm lead. They're willing to at least talk with you most of the time to follow up. Please follow up. And if they express serious interest, then later on, follow through with whatever your promises, commitments, and offers are. And after they do business with you, and sure, it's less than maybe 10%, but after they do business with you, follow back. Go back and revisit. Remind them. Don't be afraid to do that. After many of these events, the most effective and lasting success you're going to have is to be willing to follow up, follow through, and follow back so that you actually stay in touch. They're hot leads, or at least warm leads. Go for it. I'm Dick Wagner. I appreciate you taking 30 and 35 minutes to watch this webinar. As you know, I reminded you that I'm up in Orlando this next week, so I pre-recorded this. I don't pre-record very many. Most of them I do live. I would certainly remind you not to forget our podcasts. As you know, they're on Spotify and they're also on our website. And I told you earlier, we're so thrilled that in the very short time we've doing podcasts, that we've had over 1,000 downloads since December of 2023. Thanks so much for those. And thank you for watching this webinar. See you soon. Bye-bye.